Today I went back to the place where I used to go. Today I saw that same old crowd I knew before. And when they asked me what had happened, I tried to tell them, thanks to Calvary, I don't come here anymore. Thanks to Calvary, I am not the man that I used to be. Thanks to Calvary, things are different than before. And while the tears ran down my face, I tried to tell them, oh, thanks to Calvary, I don't come here anymore. And then we went back to the house where we used to live. My little girl, she ran and hid behind the door. I looked and told her, never fear, you have a new daddy now. Thanks to Calvary, we don't live here anymore. Thanks to Calvary, I am not the dad that I used to be. Oh, thanks to Calvary, things are different than before. And while the tears ran down my face, I tried to tell her, thanks to Calvary, we don't live here anymore. Yes, thanks to Calvary, we don't live here anymore.
Amen. One of our great preachers preaching this week, Pastor Mike Johnson, has been in our state over 30 years. He's our dear friend. As we're hearing that song, he had a mother and dad. His dad was a Baptist preacher. He left out of the back door of the church one day with another woman, not to come back. He had multiple stepdads and mothers. You know the story. Some of those men beat him severely. Came to the point that he had a desire to kill him. No child ought to be raised in a home where a dad threatens or a mother threatens. He teaches on our college on Tuesday. He drives all the way down from Reading. Brother Tim Rule will have a group here this week, and you know the story. He teaches on our college on Tuesday from Chico, and he, as a 5-year-old boy, was waiting on the front door steps for mother to come home. She was a waitress. The man had been abusing her and beating her. He said, would you come back home? I want to have you come back home. And she said no. He shot her multiple times and killed her, and then sat on the bumper of that old Valiant car and killed himself. A preacher came and said, Timmy, your mama is not coming home. But God's going to take care of you. He's a great preacher for 30-some years. Brother Mike Ray is one of the men, and we just honored all three of these men with doctorates in our school. It's graduation, and Brother Mike Ray was being raised in a tremendously what looked like a good family, a mother, dad, family, job, everything. Until one night he saw his dad on the news. And as he saw his dad on the news, they saw him handcuffed. He's part of the mob and bringing fake money into America, printing it. He was sentenced to over 1,500 years in prison. But through a miraculous scene of events, he was able to not only get out, but got saved and established a great bus ministry. No child ought to be raised in a home like that. Every dad here in this room today, you ought to say, well, I've failed at this thing of being a father. We'll start over. Change today at this altar. Get down here this morning, just a few moments, say, I'm going to be the man I'm supposed to be for my family. I'm going to love that wife. I'm not going to threaten her. I'm not going to abuse her. I'm not going to make her feel like she is going to be wounded or hurt by me. And every child ought to know what it is to have a dad that loves them and cares for them and prays for them. We have this text before us today, and simply this in the book of Joshua, as you're there, I want to speak to you this morning on a very important subject. You see, practically any man or any male practically could father a child. Nearly everyone, every man can father a child. But it takes a real man to be a father. Just because you've been given the name and the title father doesn't mean you're a good one. And tonight, today, in this great auditorium, I'm coming to you with an urgent message to dads. Be a man. Be a man. Amen. Don't abandon. A real dad does not abandon his children. A real dad does not abuse his children. A real dad does not reject his children. A real dad does not neglect his children. A real dad is engaged in their life. He's faithful to their mother. He's dedicated. He's kind. He's caring. He's where he's supposed to be. And when I became a man, I put away childish things. I'm so sick and tired of watching men play sports non-stop. In a park next door all day long, there's men over there at the lunch hour, they're playing sports. And at night, they're playing sports. And they're grown adult men. So I'm thinking, don't you have children? When you begin to have children, well, don't you believe in working out? No, not really. When you have kids, become a dad. You go to the park and watch Jim play. You get to the park and you take a baseball and throw the baseball with your kids. You throw the football. Well, what about working out? Work out when you get old. And by the way, if you're doing it right, you'll be working out. I'm talking about fatherhood today, and be a father. And with that title, father, comes responsibility, duty. Love your children. Train your children. That's all day long. Love your children. Train your children. Correct your children. Guide your children. Care for your children. Provide for your children. Protect your children. Be a man. When was the last time you prayed for your children? When was the last time you said, it's so urgent in my life, these kids need help from God. I'm not going to eat this meal. I'm going to give myself to prayer. When was the last time you shut off the television and said, I want to spend time with my kids? I'll tell you, those days go so fast. I heard from all of our kids this morning. They're grown and long gone out of the home. They've given us 12 grandkids. But I tell you, those days we had those children in our home were wonderful days. Oh, I wasn't a perfect dad. I wish I could have redo days. But I can tell you I tried. I tried to be what I'm talking about today. Be a father. What is a father? Well, the scripture tells us some things about a father. And the text, by the way, is about being a father. It may not sound like it if we begin here, but 3 or 4 or 5 hours from now when I'm done, you'll figure it out. Be a father. Be a father. And what is a father? He's a man. He's not a milquetoast. He's a man. He knows what he is. God in the beginning created male and female. And God desired that boys grow up to be men. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and these two shall be one flesh. Be a man. Be a man. And the Bible says this in verse number 2, and they were going to have a memorial they were going to set up about how God delivered them. And he says, I want you to get these stones, these rocks out of the Jordan when you go. And he said, take you 12 men. Verse 2. Verse 2 says also, every tribe a man. Verse number 4, 12 men. And verse number 4, every tribe a man. A man. A man takes responsibility. He's gathering stones. He's gathering rocks. A real man does what he's supposed to do. These men were commanded to do something, and a real man does what he is supposed to do. What he's supposed to do? Provide for your family. If a man will not work, he should not eat. I don't like working. Well, get over it. You're a man. Get up. Get out of bed, and getting out of bed is not 9:30 in the morning, watching Leave It to Beaver with your Cocoa Puffs, and then go and collect some unemployment away. Go get a job and work. There's a job to be had. I go around here, good night. If you can't get a job in the Silicon Valley, you can't get a job. And if nothing else, I'd go to a donut shop and say, you know those little circles in the middle? I'll eat the middle out of that if you give me a job. I mean, that's so funny. There ought to be something you can do. No one wants to mow their lawn. No one wants to trim their bushes. No one wants to wash their cars. No one. Get a job. How tough is it would it be to go? You say, well, you know, things are tough in America. Where do you get that nonsense? You know, on our prayer list, I add to it, and I have so many things I'm praying for, but I have an unemployment list. And there are times in our economy where we have people unemployed. Now, if someone's unemployed, I don't know about it. I don't have one person on that list. I'm talking about we have some Bible college kids come here, and they get offered jobs, $20 an hour, $22 an hour. Some been offered jobs, $26 an hour, doing nothing. Not much. Sign me up. I like a job like that. A real man, a real father is a man. It's time to put away childish things. You want to, I'm all for golf. But don't spend 2, 3, 4 hours away from your family and golf. I know that's archaic. I know that sounds old-fashioned. Go ahead and golf, but take your son with you. Go ahead and have something that you do, but take your kid with you and participate with your son. He said, well, good night. If I play golf with this little guy, he's an 8-year-old, he'll slow me down. He'll make you look good for about a year. I'm talking about getting engaged, and a real man says, I'm going to have to put away some things that I want for me. My family's become my responsibility. What if in America today, every single man who's a father would get back into fatherhood? Not just birthing children, producing kids. Let's say I'm going to live my life from sunup to sundown, and through the night hour, I'm giving myself to my family. There's an urgency of this day. We say, well, the little lady takes care of the kids. I just father them. No, the little lady just doesn't take care of the kids. And I'm not suggesting that dad becomes a 24-hour-a-day nursery worker. Dads have to work. I tell the people on my staff, man, you give me the time that you're supposed to. I'm paying you to work. I'm not paying you to care for your children on work hours. But when you get home at night, I'm not going to call you at home. In an event of a dire emergency, there's an earthquake in our area, and I need every preacher, every one of our pastors to get down here to help our area. There's something different there, but I'm not calling. And I say to my wives, the same thing is true. Don't be calling your husband. I need milk. I need bread. I need you to take care of the kids. I need you to do it. Let them work. See how this is not going over? A real man works. He said, I want you to get some men. And a real man does this for a lifetime. Look at verse 21. They spake unto the children of Israel, saying, when your children shall ask their fathers in the time to come, what mean these stones? You see, they were going over the Jordan, young people. And they said, I want you, when you're in the midst of that, to hew out and place on your shoulders these big stones. And I want you men to bring these huge stones, and we're going to make a memorial, a monument. And it's going to reveal that God delivered us. And God brought us out of bondage. And God gave us our own land. And God did something great that only God could do. Man, I want you to know one day your children and your children's children are going to look at your memorial. One of the greatest memorials that I believe that every father can give to his child is one of his own Bibles. I have my mother's Bibles. I have my dad's Bibles. Those Bibles are precious treasures. My wife spoke in our class with us today. We spoke together. She had her dad's Bible with her. He preached the same church 57 years. And she had his Bible. You know, God forbid that your son may or your daughter may become a prodigal. And you may be long gone. And one day in despair they might go to a shelf and pull down an old Bible. They may not read the Bible, but they might read Mama's notes. Mama said, be kind to everybody. May I be a kind person. Mama said, tell the truth. And she calls herself by name. She wrote in her Bible, Sally, may I always tell the truth. May I always tell the truth. We have 3 boys. One of our sons and 2 sons-in-laws. I've preached from this church 40 years. And I've used Bible after Bible. And I've given them a Bible. I hope it's a treasure to them. But I tell you what, man, may I tell you this? Leave your kids the heritage of a Bible. Leave your children a heritage that you paid your bills. Leave your children a heritage that you're a hard worker. Leave your children a heritage that God says, if you're reading through the book of Proverbs this morning, you saw it again today, that you provide for your children and your children's children. We live in an environment today with all the melting pot of the different worlds coming to America. We're grateful for that, just like my forefathers and my grandparents and my dad who spoke German first and my mother who spoke German first as they came here. But I want you to know that you need to leave them a heritage of work and of ethics and of honesty and of truth. And that no nation ought to be just a giver. We ask not what our country can do for us, but what we can do for our country. And we're involved in our country, and we're involved in responsibility, and we're involved in duty. And here is a man, he said, when your children's children, when they sift through the things that trio just sang, when they sift through the things, and when they sift through my notes, and they're all going to go to a file where it has all their names, all 20 of my family. My grandkids aren't in here today, so I'll tell you this. And they write me a note and they say, Papa, I love you. Here's $1. I've never used the $1. It's in their file. Stapled to the little note they gave me. And one day when I'm gone, They're going to pull out that file and look at the things that they wrote me. And they're going to find things that I have already left behind, hidden. They'll see it. If I were to die, and we're now in the birthday season of our family, they'll already see the gift. Not the personal gift, but the money is there. It's set aside so that if I should die today, when they get to their birthday this year, and when they get to their anniversary this year, it's prepared. So when I don't have that kind of money, well, I just set aside when people give me a birthday gift or a Christmas gift or a Father's Day gift, I set it aside. You say, don't you have some personal needs? I do. But your kids are going to look one day of what you've left behind and what did you leave? There's their heritage of holiness. There's their heritage of godliness. There's their heritage of purity. It's a heritage that I loved your mama. I just loved your mama. Your mama was the best thing that ever happened in my life other than salvation. I want you to notice, go with me, and I'm out of time, but go with me, I'm just getting started. But the book of Luke in chapter 15. We're talking today about the fact that when you're a father, you're in your place a lifetime. Here's a good example of a father that was in his place a lifetime. In Luke in chapter 15, verse 11, a man had certain man had 2 sons. The younger said unto his father, Father, give unto me the portion of the goods which falleth to me, and divided them unto his living. Not many days after, the younger son took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a famine in the land, and he began to be in want. He went and joined himself to a citizen of that country. And he sent unto him the fields to feed swine, and he would fain have filled his belly with the husk the swine did eat, and no man gave him unto him. When he came to himself, he said, the hired servants of my father have bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger. I will rise and go to my father. And I will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee. I am no more worthy to be called thy son, and make me as one of thy hired servants. And he arose, and he came to his father. And while he was yet a great way off, his father saw him. And he ran and he fell on his neck and kissed him. Now stop right there for a moment. Keep your hand right there. This dad stayed at home while his son went and wandered. Dad, always stay in your place when your kids do wrong. Your place is your home. And so your kids, maybe they become adults and they wander away and they break your heart. And they're into liquor and they're into drugs and they're running and carousing and they do wrong. You stay in your place. You say, well, I'm tired of the old lady anyway. Don't ever call her that. I'm tired of the old woman. I'm tired of this lady. I'm dumping her off. I'm tired of this whole family. No, you stay in your place. You get in that house and you stay there in your spot. You get that job, you stay in your spot. You come to Sunday school, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, you stay in your spot. Where is it that we get this idea, our kids do wrong, and so I can do wrong? I don't know what your kids are going to do, and I don't know if they're going to fly away and walk away and leave the family and leave the home and break your heart. But you stay your ground. And don't forget, there's always a prodigal son that's going to come to himself and say, I need to get right with my daddy. Get in church. Stay in church. I cannot begin to tell you how many prodigals I've seen through the years come back home to God and say, I've wandered far away from God. I was preaching on a Sunday morning in the old auditorium years ago. A boy had gotten saved there and then grew up and he got so away from God. And his mother, I've had her funeral. I've had her husband's funeral since. That boy got so away from God and just broke his mom's heart. And she'd pray. I'd see her at the old altar a lot of times, an invitation praying for my son, adult son, to come back to God. I was preaching years ago on the prodigal son. I don't know why I did it. I always stay with my message, but I didn't feel like the message I had that morning was right. And I just went to the prodigal son, not knowing he was in church. I would not have changed. Had I known he was there, I don't think he used the pulpit as a bully place. I was preaching that morning because I felt like the God moved in my heart. Little did I know he was in the very back row of that long gunshot auditorium. And I preached that morning on the prodigal son come home. And I'll never forget, I came down here at the invitation. And he's weeping. And he said, "You're preaching at me this morning." I said, "Well, sir, what's your name?" He goes, "You know my name." And I said, "No, I don't know your name. I'm sorry. Who are you?" And he told me his name. One of our boys grew up here. He said, "You just preached about the prodigal. That's what I am. I'm coming home today." Right now, I want you to know that this daddy never moved. He stayed home. And by the way, this daddy never gave him the banquet and the robe and the ring and the shoes until after the son said, "I have sinned." Stop trying to buy your kids off. Well, I'm halfway into my message. And I'm out of time. So just give me half a salary this week, if you will, please. Dad, be in your spot a lifetime. Dad, teach your children. This is what these stones mean. This is what old-time religion is. This is what preaching's about. This is what these old hymns of the Zion are all about. Friend, I don't know what all other churches are going to do. That's up to them and God. But I tell you what, we've been here 40 years. We started with the hymn book. I'm going to stay with the hymn book, singing these hymns. You see, that's not the end way. I know it's not the end way. The fastest growing churches in America are the ones that have thrown out the hymn book. And they throw out the choir, and they've thrown out the special music, and they have a rock band. I know that's the way. You get more money that way, by the way. But let's see how it goes after 40 years. You know, mothers and dads, we need you just to do right when perhaps everyone around you is changing. If you would have told me a few years back that we'd have both these people running for president of the United States, I'd say, "You've got to be kidding me." Both of them? Those two? Those two are our only choice we have? My wife said, "You ought to run for president." I don't know, because she doesn't think anybody's qualified or what, but I said, and then we were driving, she goes, you ought to be the mayor of this city. You ought to run for the mayor of this city. And for me, because I'm a preacher, I'm not going to step down to be the mayor. I want to tell you something, friend. Find what you're supposed to do and be a man and do it. Do it. Be a man. Be a man a lifetime. Be in your spot a lifetime, just a lifetime. And things will go wrong, but stay in your spot. And continue to pass down a heritage to your children. You say, "Well, this does nothing to do with me today. I'm not a man. I'm not a father. I'm a lady." You have a responsibility to build a man and to become a man. Because, Ms. Trieber, you said it briefly in class today. A lot of women want a milquetoast of a guy, spineless, that she can govern, and it will destroy you, and you'll destroy him. Make your husband into a man. Man up. Become a man. Take the responsibility. Stop the neglect. Stop the abandonment. You say, "I have children, but through a series of events, we're divorced, she's remarried, I'm remarried." Okay, you still have responsibility. You still have alimony and child support. You still have a responsibility. Above all, men, it begins with salvation. You must be born again. You cannot try to be a father without being a son. And the son begins when you choose Jesus Christ to be your personal Savior and have Him as your Father. You must be born again. It starts with salvation. It begins with salvation. Have you been born again? I witnessed this week to a secretary of a Baptist church. I couldn't get her to realize she needed to be saved. She said, well, I've been baptized. I said, no, but what about salvation? Well, I was baptized. I said, no, you must be born again. Have you been saved? Our heads are bowed and our eyes are closed. Our Father, I hope that we'll long remember Father's Day 2016 if you tarry. And I pray that today in this invitation you'd rise up an army of men to use this old-fashioned altar and say, I'm going to be a man. I'm going to be a man. I'm going to do it for a lifetime. I'll be a man for a lifetime. And I'm going to pass down some heritage to my children and my children's children. This morning with our heads bowed and eyes closed, how many men here, whether you're a father or not, how many young men and how many young men today, and middle-aged men and older men, you say, I want to be a man like I found in Joshua 4. I'm a man. I want to be a man. I want to do it for a lifetime. And I want to pass down something. Pray for me. Would you slip your hand up? And I know that's so general. Hands everywhere. Would you up in the balcony, the lower floor? You teenage boys, how many of you boys like that as well? God bless you. Just don't simply father a child. God bless you. Dads, I'm going to ask you to use this altar this morning. And if you're here to be saved today, men or women, would you come to Christ? If you're here today, say as a wife and as a mother, I need to support my husband. I just need to pray here. Maybe you ought to come as a couple. Perhaps you've been a disobedient child. Today you ought to say to mother and dad, I'm getting right with God. And get right with God today. If you need to be baptized or need to unite with this church, would you come? Let's stand together. Our heads are bowed. Our eyes are closed. Our Father, this morning, oh dear God, speak to our hearts in this invitation today. This is a serious moment. God, may we be people of the Bible and people of respect and people of obedience and work and honesty and being a gentleman and a gentle lady. God, this morning, speak, please, is my prayer. Our heads are bowed and eyes are closed and the altar is already filling up. Would you come? Come on, dads, we need you as the pianist plays. Come if you're here to unite with this church, here to be baptized, here to get right with God. Dear ladies, some of you ladies ought to come on behind that husband and say, I'm going to support you. I'm going to support you as my husband. It's a Latin word, house, H-U-S, house, and then band. I'm going to band the house together. God bless you, dear fathers. Oh, how we need you, men. Men, step on out. Let's pray here. That's it. That's it. Keep coming. We need men. Some of you teenage boys, don't father a child before you're a husband. Be a husband. I know there's such pressures on you to give up your holiness and your purity. I know that. But don't advance that thing too fast. Slow down. Develop your life first. And then find the right girl and date her as a Christian. And keep your hands to yourself. And then get married. And then after you're married, in time, God's going to give you children. And be the dad you're supposed to be. Young boys, we need you today. Young girls, you're going to have to keep yourself pure. A young girl that offers herself so willingly is because she has something absent in her life. She doesn't have the dad. She doesn't have she's so insecure. Fellas, would you learn that? A girl that just offers herself is insecure. She's not going to be a good wife. She'll not be a good mama. Please hear me. God bless you, teenagers. Whether you come on the bus or whether you come in the car or whether you walk in, God bless you. Oh, how we need you to do right. Who else is here? I need to be saved. Lord, I love these people. I love them so much. I'm their shepherd. I'm responsible for them. And I pray that we might recognize the importance of being godly men, godly women. We live in such a play, pleasure, fun-filled society. Lord, when we take on responsibility, may we be good husbands and good fathers and good wives and good mothers. Bless these dear people. What a testimony to see Pastor and Mrs. Brockman here today. I pray your blessing upon their lives. Lord, it's a joy to have people coming to be saved today, and believers' baptism today, and uniting with our church. Bless each one that's come on this Lord's Day. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, I love you folks. I'll be baptizing tonight. I look forward to it. Have a man and his wife. They've been following our church for quite some time, long before he started running for a political office. And he's running for office in our area. And he and his wife and family will be baptized tonight. They're meeting with one of our deacons right now. And they're not getting baptized for votes. There's a long before that. In fact, his niece is coming to our Bible college this fall. God sent them to us a while back, and God's just been working on their hearts. And so they're dealing with one of our deacons right now. I'll baptize them. We'll have to figure out, fellows, I don't know, this morning we'll miss it. There's a baptistry back here. But tonight I want to be able to get it on these screens so we can see folks baptized that I have that joy and privilege to baptize. And then I won't mention the ball player's name, but he's here from one of our famous teams in this area. And I follow you every single day of your life. I look at your batting average. And I'm looking, why is he not up to bat? And I just saw the reason for that this morning when you stood there. And so he's injured, but God bless you. And what an honor to have you in church. What an honor to have you folks from other churches today visiting us, this youth conference. I want to get to know you. I feel like I've just sort of neglected you in the morning service. I always like to call people out by name. And we're glad you're all here. And man, when you leave out today, member or not, we're going to give you a Dad's root beer and the big chunk. And that is not to share. And if your wife is expecting and it's not public, you just take one anyway. You might be an expectant father there. And that'd be great. You're the greatest church in all the world. I love you so much, and I appreciate you. Man, we need you. Imagine in America if every man who claims to know Christ became a man. Brother Nars Claudia, one of our boys, grew up here. He's an assistant pastor in Arkansas, stopped by with his wife and kids this week. He said there's 12,000 people in our town and 56 Baptist churches. And I said, wouldn't it be great if all 56 preached the gospel? Wouldn't it be great if every one of the 56 Baptist churches in that town had men in it? I said, you tell your pastor maybe an idea he might want to do is have some Sunday morning, 9 o'clock Sunday school, 10 o'clock morning service, and at 11 o'clock for 2 hours, all the membership go door to door. And when they say, hey, I'm a Baptist, say, why aren't you in church? That's a good idea. I feel awkward not having baptism. We always have baptism. I'm going to get to the lobby here in Pasture Road. 6 o'clock tonight, no choir, no orchestra, prayer meetings ahead of time. The bus kids have already left out over here. Weren't they great? I said to one of my deacons who works in the security, his claim to fame is that I told the chief of police this week, his claim to fame is he played football and holds a record with John Elway at Stanford. But he's old now. He can't do anything, you know. But I said at Deacon's meeting, Jim, you work the security with those teenagers. Some of these kids are gangbangers. They've been with us this morning. He said, they're the sweetest kids. I said, is this true? I don't know one of those kids that come from a normal home. Dads are absent. This thing could turn so fast for right. Put a dad back in the home. Ladies, don't fail with your husband. Build him into a man of God. Men are weak. We are weak. You can tear us down in a heartbeat and we'll get on your side immediately and say, yeah, that's who I am. I'm nothing. I don't mean let's baby him. Oh, Gucci, you're a good husband. You don't need that either. You pray for him. What I look forward to tonight, 6 o'clock, And it's going to be a great service. We'll have folks from all the other buildings. Let me pass you a row, and you'll be dismissed.